All right, I would like to call to order the Wednesday, October 9th school committee meeting. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, it's over Mark's shoulder. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If we could just bow our heads for a moment, take a moment of reflection. Thank you all. Item 1.4, I will consider a motion to enter into executive session under RIGL section 42-46-5A3 via roll call. Do I have a motion first?
I'll make a motion that we enter executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. We'll vote for your roll call, Jennifer.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Fleischer,
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
We are entered into executive session.
Okay.
Okay.
Read through part 3, just so the public understands there was no votes taken in executive.
Well, I absolutely will. But in terms of item 4, before we get there, do I need to physically have a vote to remove it, or can I just
So
say?
you can just table 4.1.
Okay,
Till
beautiful.
next meeting.
We'll say, make that note then. Good, you're good, perfect. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Wednesday, October 9th regular meeting of the school committee. We just adjourned executive session. There were no votes taken in executive session, and I will consider a motion to seal the minutes of executive session. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we seal the minutes from the executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. All in favor of sealing the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. On to consent agenda. I am going to table item 4.1 until the next month, and I will consider, or someone consider a motion to approve consent agenda 4.2 through 4.5.
I'll make a motion that we approve 4.2 through 4.5.
Do I have a second?
And second.
All in favor? Aye. You said aye?
Aye, yes.
The motion carries 3-0. On to public input. I didn't see, did anyone sign up?
No.
One signed up. I do want to take a moment to welcome Mr. Mark Leisher to the school committee. Mark ran in 2022. He was the 4th highest vote getter. And because Miss Megan Gonzalez resigned due to purchasing a home in Tiverton, congratulations to her. It is bittersweet. But we know that Mark will continue the thoughtfulness and representing not only the school committee, but the best interests of the parents, the administrators, and of course, the children. We're very excited to have him here. I know that he's worked with Michael on the recreation committee and they've had communications. So I'm excited to bring you aboard and welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
With that being said, we'll move on to item 6.1, fall activities for Wilbur McMahon. Is this you, Principal McKinnon?
I believe it is.
Excellent.
Thank you, Chairperson Howard.
Perfect.
So we can pull this up in 1 second. So this last week, we had our students give speeches for student council. You see some of the names that are up there, some of our students who, Luke is an 8th grader, followed by a vice president in each of the 6th and 7th grades, treasurer and secretary, and we have all the reps. The student council is in its 2nd year. Mr. Lee Torres, Individuals in Society Social Studies teacher, is running their meetings. They do it weekly, usually during the lunches on Fridays. And the next big event coming up is going to be the Halloween dance. They'll be the ones setting up for, and that's coming up on October 25th. Next slide. Students of the month were just named, the month of September. It was, the communicator was the theme of the month, and those are our students who won the students of the month. They had a little special treat, following the guidelines of our
I was going to say, you can be proud of that. We're good with the treats now, right?
They thoroughly enjoyed it. Next slide. Currently, our community project, a little update on it. Miss Amy Alas is our IB coordinator, but Mr. Lee Torres is our community service director, I guess you'd say. And we run a community service class every Wednesday from 12:20 to 1:05. The students are currently in the investigation phase of their community project. They'll be moving on to the planning phase the next couple months, November, which is a shorter month with some of the breakups with voting and Thanksgiving and what have you. And then moving to the action phase, what they're actually going to do for the community project in February and March. One of the neat things by us running it as a year-long class and project, is a little bit more time. Last year, if you remember, it was right around the end of February, our science fair projects were finished. And that's where we picked up the community project, and ended up being well done, as we can see, but we felt as though it was very rushed. We didn't get the true feeling for the community project, so we did incorporate that into a weekly class with our 8th graders as part of the IB. Also up on the screen, you will see it, and thanks, John, for waiting out and blocking some of the, but that is what our progress report is going to look like for students in the MYP middle years program. And basically, it's a narrative from each of the 9 disciplines, ELA, science, physical studies, math, music, visual arts, design, Spanish, I think I get it up in physical education and health. And basically it paints a picture for the parent on how the student is doing in the classroom, effort, and how they're doing in the classroom. We really wanted it personalized, and as you can see, that's the reason for the whiteouts. And yeah, but those should be going out next week. Next slide. We have 2 more slides left. We have 2 athletic teams that are currently up and running. Our cross-country team actually had an event today at Goddard State Park in Warwick. I have not heard how they did, but they've been performing extremely well over the last 2, and I believe they have 2 more events left. I think the next one next week, and I believe one the following week on the 23rd. I think I said this the last time, one of their first events at Providence Country Day, unfortunately, some of, not just our athletes, but athletes in other schools ran into a beehive as they were running, and a couple of them actually got stung and finished.
All right, great. Wow. Very impressive.
Experiences. And finally, our soccer team has 2 more games this week. They haven't played this week, but they play tomorrow on Friday. One is home and one is away. And I believe they have 3 more games left. When you talk about experiences, always a great experience going out to Block Island on the ferry trip out and back, and on the way back, they were able to experience 2 humpback whales right by the ferry. So,
Yeah, the kids are so stupid.
so that is what's happening in the school.
Awesome, Principal McKinnon. Thank you so much for sharing. And a little whale watch on the block. I mean, it's already cool enough going on the block, the Block Island experience, but nonetheless, really cool. All right, item 7, superintendent report. Dr. Mitchell.
I have a facilities update. Thank you. Next slide, Jonathan. Thanks so much. I just linked to the project spreadsheet, which is public. It's on our district website under district and financials, and see the capital improvement piece there. And we have added a new project to our capital improvement plan, and it is PFAS mitigation. Last week, we had a team of 5 come down from Providence, from the Department of Health, and also from the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, to talk about the EPA regs that we must comply with by 2029. They will be rolled out in 2026. We will have 3 years to come in compliance. And in Rhode Island right now, parts per trillion, you could have 20 parts per trillion in drinking water in a water system. Those are going down to 4 in 2026 and full compliance in 2029. The good news is the state has a tranche of funds, which is grant money that does not have to be paid back. The Department of Health has guesstimated that upgrading our water system that services this building, the maintenance barn, the Grange, the community center, and town hall, they're coming up with $550,000. So that is what we will be allowed to access at the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. I will kickstart writing that grant soon with an engineer. We'll be hiring an engineer. I've reached out to our architectural engineering firm to capture some really good talent there. And once we have an engineer who can analyze our system and come up with, a mitigation plan and what that could look like, then we'll start this project that must be done by 2026. And I think we will definitely meet that deadline. Right now, we're at 6 parts per trillion. That was just one sample taken about 18 months ago. So we are not very close, not in exceedance at all of current 20 parts per trillion, but definitely in exceedance of the new regs being rolled out at 4. So the 550,000 is a maximum. We don't know what that system will look like. It depends on the analysis, where the PFAS is coming from, and that's what that engineer and that firm will be doing. So go to the next slide, Jonathan.
And Lori, that 550,000 is all grant.
100% grant funded. And so I'd like to just roll that into our work with Studio J. All right. Oops, there should be a slide that you missed. Oh, I guess go again, keep on, okay, oh, all right. No, that's fine. The solar update, we're gonna get to PFAS in a minute. I jumped the gun here. This is a solar update, hot off the press. Stu Flanagan sent this to me at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Final fire inspection will be taking place next week. Waiting on a call back from Captain Watt. Then they'll install the customer-owned monitoring system the same day. The as-built plans that were not available just a few weeks ago, those are all set. So we pretty much have everything in place for, I think, it'll be 10 business days once the utility approves. So we're thinking by the end of the month, we will fire up and be on the grid. And that'll be in your Friday night memo, school committee members. So we have a few things holding us up, but we're hoping to complete all of our checklist within the next week. And then it'll take about 10 days for the rest of it. And by the end of the month, we will be fully solar, which is nice to see.
Well done.
Okay, and Phil weighed in today as well. He is our architect. He has been working with Newport Renewables, submitting our invoices, et cetera, to RIDE. And so they had a conversation today, and I was on that email thread. So we're just about there. The grant will be distributed to the school department once the inspection has been passed, typically 3 months from ATI. Of course, we always want to know when we're being refunded, et cetera, from all the funds that we have front loaded. So it's just a lot of text saying we're almost there. Almost there. The inspection on the town level is what we're waiting for. Okay, we also have, part of our capital improvement plan is deferred maintenance and water filtration, mitigation, et cetera. And we do have an issue on the west side of the building with some water infiltration. And so this maintenance project is much larger than we imagined. I asked her, our architect, Tracy Donnelly from Studio Jade, for a ballpark. She said it's too soon, but I'll get one to you. So somehow during the last renovation, this area was neglected. Probably funds ran out. And so we have a cut and cap issue there. So you can't see it, but there's a pipe sticking up. So Chris is going to cap that immediately because we've had infiltration into that wall, down into a stairway, into the kindergarten classroom right there. Not standing water, just, situational and a relatively new issue. And we have an overflow drain that's acting as roof drainage, as the primary roof drainage, when it should be just the overflow. We have to take down that wing wall with all of that water damage, install a new pipe, guardrail and handrail. and then remove the grass area and replace it with pavement and install a catch basin and tie to the current drainage system. So we want to be good stewards of this building. We're working our way through the deferred maintenance report that is about nine pages long, single space, as we have the bandwidth and the funds to do so. And that's why we keep that running record, that, Excel spreadsheet that I made. And then we can get some, reimbursement funds as well. We tie all of this in, so.
In the short term, is this like an active thing every time it rains?
Nah, not every time. It just depends on how fast it's coming down and.
Like Monday, did it happen on Monday?
No.
No, it did not happen on Monday.
You should, okay.
You just never know, but it has to be dealt with.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, is there something we can mitigate in the short term, like the flood barriers? I mean, this is something that like a private citizen could donate. But to like mitigate the water away from this area if it's continuing to penetrate, because the last thing we want is to do this mitigation. I get what we're doing, but in the time that it takes, it starts to damage the interior of the building, and now we're into a different.
And that's why we put it up there, it's a priority now, definitely, because it's happened a couple of times recently. And so there's no mold, there's nothing there. But look at that wall on the outside. And so immediately that was capped. It was an open, you wouldn't see it if you didn't look for it, But having an architectural engineering firm immediately, they just have the eye. So that's one of our next big projects. They're working on that with us. All right. I just put some, particular options when it comes to PFAS mitigation. So it could be anywhere from 100,000 to 550,000. We won't know until the engineers come and look at our system. They're a very good water system and a good delivery system as well, those boosters. So these are just, we've all had to climb this learning curve with PFAS. My name is on the water system, any superintendent who serves here, and our head custodian holds the small water system license. And we have a second custodian who passed that exam as well, which is not easy. So we have a backup license, and we're hoping the town also has one of their DPW workers get licensed as well. We need redundancy in that area. Chris, our head custodian, will have to get the next level of license once we have a PFAS system in. So right now, his license covers his delivery workflows, water delivery, but now he'll be running a water system once you put in PFAS mitigation, and that is a killer exam. So we want to give him a lot of moral support and kudos for going down that road. The four people from Rido, they were chemists. John was at that meeting as well. He is the money man. So anytime, we're talking money, he is invited to those meetings. So, he's fully aware of what's going on. But yeah, this is a grant. It's not a loan. It is a grant. And like I said, they've apportioned 550,000 for our small system. Not that we'll need it all. But it has to be done. It's the feds. And I have to give the Department of Health kudos for being so thorough. They are going to every water system, public and private, and meeting in person. This is the first time this has ever happened. We have a lot of interactions with them weekly, sometimes daily. We're constantly testing our water. We have to stay open. And we had that precautionary, if you remember, boil order this summer. We had to work with them on that when we had the planned outages for the solar project. They knocked it out of the park in terms of guidance, information, framing this project, preparing us 2 years ago. We did a Zoom with them 2 years ago. They took our first reading 18 months ago. They've been ahead of the curve. Most states are not doing this. Massachusetts is not this far ahead. So here we are starting. They started in 2022, contacting me and Chris, meeting with us via Zoom. And for some of them, it was their first time in Little Compton. They think it's beautiful, everybody. And so do the rest of us. So, you know, we feel supported. We had a gentleman from the infrastructure bank, and we have direct access to him, and he will guide us through the process for the grant writing once we have the engineering report, et cetera.
Real quick, are there any incentives? I mean, I'm not saying we're the only one, but it is a unique situation where the water system at the school powers multiple municipal buildings. Is there any other added incentives because we feed into like all the way up to the town hall? No, there's not, they're not, they don't want to do us any favors for.
The only incentive there is if you want to tie into another private water system in town, and there are a few. But we don't want to do that. You know, one is at the Commons lunch area.
Too far.
If we want to tie into another municipality, it would be Tiverton, you know, water source. But we have a well with a lot of water, good water. We have a really good system with a, you know, heavy investment in it already. And so we're going to move forward with this. We're going to make those deadlines.
I got a question on your grant. Is there limitations as far as what we can invest in? You laid out 3 different options or 4 different options. During the outages, there was an issue where we weren't able to maintain the pressure, and we talked about a separate power supply.
So glad you mentioned that, because I asked the infrastructure bank, John was there, if I could tie in the power redundancy to this project and get it grant funded. And he said, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. That's what I'm kind of getting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
If we can do that kind of, all right, good.
Absolutely. We would need it anyway for PFAS, and if our generator died or whatever. And so, but we also need it for our boosters.
Yeah.
They were sort of aware that we run the whole system for the whole.
And many of us found out this summer. What?
No.
Yeah.
Some schools, most rural schools do own their water system, but they don't distribute to 4 other town buildings.
Yeah.
And have to test those taps. And so I have to give Chris Osborne kudos on camera, because he taught me so much about the water.
Going above and beyond, and awesome that another custodian has that certification. That being said,
I want to give Paul Borges kudos tonight on camera.
yes, do any of our service providers in town, i.e. either of the plumbing companies, they don't have any of this type of licensing?
No.
Should something,
I've asked, nope.
I'm just
They don't
curious.
need it. They don't.
I didn't think so, but I
They don't
wasn't
need it.
sure if it was something that might overlap.
Well, I asked when we wanted some redundancy, and the answer was no, there wasn't a license at the plumbing contractor that usually use. So. But now we have 2. This is the first time, I think, in the history. Because we're becoming a
Well,
little.
good on both of those guys. And certainly if they need our support, however we can.
They've gone above and beyond. Yep, so good. Next, the library project. So what we've done there, because we have these other 2 big projects, the infiltration on the west side of the building and the PFAS system upgrade that we need. And that's new. I mean, that just came across my desk in September. So we're not putting the reimagining the library project on the back burner, but we're tiering it. So I met with the architect and the interior designer. We're going to tier it, and we're also going to repurpose a lot of the cabinetry. We're going to use a lot of the furnishings that we received from the $100,000 wellness grant from the Department of Ed. We're going to sort of dial back some of the elements, like some clouds hanging, whatever. So we're going to sort of chunk it in stages. The first stage will be to remove the fixed shelving and put mobile shelving there for flexibility of spacing. And also we have the carpet squares, and so we can sort of backfill those areas. We have quite a bit. Jonathan knows where that stash is. And then we will move the current circulation area to a smaller space and open that up for student use. the space that is now used for processing materials and so forth. So we have a nice plan to chunk it in 4 different steps as money allows. And next one. And that will be the finished plan. So we'll start off with new tables up here. Just for a minute. Let's see, it wasn't that long. Mobile tables here. All of this will be mobile shelving. This will be a new meeting space. We're running out of meeting space. This is where the current circulation desk and processing unit is. This is where it's going to be here. So we're first going to work on this space. So in the summer, when it's hot in here, we can meet up there and be in compliance with state fire regulations regarding egress. And then we will we'll sort of disassemble this, use a lot of the cabinetry here for this right here. And a lot of our furnishings that we got from the grant, some of them are already up there. Like a book nook that we're going to do in. We now have one right there, a second one upstairs. So these plans were written before the wellness grant. And so we're just going to chunk it. It's going to be less expensive and it'll be easier for the librarian and the classes and kids to use the space while this is going on. And before long, we could move from here up there if we want to for air conditioning, etc. So that's, Karen loves it. Very loves the plan. And we're going to be very frugal, repurpose, the finished work that's already there, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just going to be very beautiful. And that's about it. That is the facilities update.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
While we're ball over the goal line, I'm going to hand it over to Finance Director, Mr. John McNamee.
I'm sure I can do my report after that piece.
Well, if there is,
Presentation.
I know there's typically not, but is there any reimbursement with that grant? Can we parlay any? No, I didn't think so. I'm just creative.
Can you use something back
Just glad it's a grant. My gosh.
At least we can't say that we're still into it. Anyway, we just basically started the fiscal year. We've basically gone through 1 month of this school. So I've got together a budget, which we approved at the financial town meeting. So it doesn't look like there's going to be any significant deviations, with the exception that we should be looking at a little bit more revenue because our tuition paying students are going to be up in the neighborhood of 32 versus 17 last year. So we're going to see a little bit of an increase in that area. We are anticipating some money coming in from the collaborative. I believe that distribution will hopefully come in by the end of FY25, before the end of FY25, but we're hoping probably in the first quarter of calendar year 25, we should get that distribution. On the expense side, I mean, we have 79 students at Portsmouth High School. I think we budgeted 81, but we do have, I was notified of another MLL student, so we have 2 additional tuitions that we'd have at the high school. But our CTE programs probably have a little bit more enrollment than we had anticipated. So we might see a little bit of an uptick in that tuition expense. But other than that, I think hopefully we'll be targeting a balanced budget for FY25 at this point. The chair had asked me to discuss, the Auditor General has put together a comprehensive report of all the districts reporting in the state, municipalities and school districts. And I've been going back and forth with RIDE over the last 2 or 3 years because they come up with a per pupil amount that's based on the total expenditures for the school district as a whole, divided by the enrollment at Wilbur McMahon School as opposed to the enrollment for Wilbur McMahon School and Portsmouth High School. And for some reason, they continue to eliminate those students at the high school and use a number that comes close to, I think, $40,000 per pupil, which is a ridiculous number. It doesn't mean anything. So I've talked to the chief operating officer for RIDE, who happens to be on the school committee in Lincoln. So I've had that discussion with him. I will be sending him a letter. In fact, I'm going to forward Travis's email, which I think is good because it obviously addresses that. And I think seeing it coming from a chairman of a school committee, maybe we'll see some more action. I'm going to copy the Auditor General on that, and also the Chief Financial Officer for RIDE as well, too. And I've had this discussion. I met with the Chief Operating Officer, I met the Chief Financial, the CFO for RIDE, and I also met with the individuals that are responsible for the Uniform Chart of Accounts reporting. And it's like a deer in the headlights when I'm talking to them. They understand the problem, but apparently the law says you have to use this number, which is the residential average daily membership, which way RIDE computes it, it's without Portsmouth High School students. They can't understand the concept that it doesn't make any sense. And at this point, that's going to be simple math. So I'm going to see if maybe they didn't pass the RICAS scores in math, but I'm going to show them.
Go to the legislature,
Ouch.
change the.
Well, I thought of going to our legislature because it's an issue, but it doesn't make any sense that we should go that far.
No.
So they did come and they did show an adjusted number, but they clearly continue to show the first number, which is the high number, which
Correct.
we go in front of the budget committee and they say, well, RIDE's putting that number out, so it's got to be right. Well, we know it's not right. So, I'm gonna.
Yeah, whatever you need from me, whatever, I mean, I'll
Have some follow-up at the next meeting on that, but it's,
So Travis, so what are they doing? They're taking our total cost and just dividing it by the population in this school only?
correct. It's like our high school students don't exist. Yet in that total cost is the high school students.
absolutely.
They're
And
just
then,
pulling the census
and
from our
they
SIS.
do a computation where they take out the tuition numbers for out of district. Well, that's fine, but you got to transport the kids. You have, you have other overhead costs, superintendent, business manager, legal, you have all that stuff, which applies to all the students, not just the students that are going here. So it doesn't make any sense just to take that number out either, because that doesn't account for all the operating expenses for
Our
these.
kids who were placed out of district. Right,
Yes, it's not just our high school, it's any kid that's out of district, is it not?
right.
This would be kids that go to the Met or go to another school that meets their needs.
And the other thing we have to look at is tuition paying students. Now, a tuition paying student, if they're coming in from Tiverton, their residence is going to be in Tiverton, the state aid is going to go to Tiverton. So I don't know if they are going to show up on that number. So now they're going to have a lower number
Correct.
that they're going to use in that denominator. And so I want to clarify that, especially for the upcoming year.
Maybe something that we need to get the legislation involved in. If I have to go that route.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like there's going to be some overlap here, because we have out of district kids that aren't going to be accrued to, as Michael has stated, when they look at our number in terms of distributing state aid, we're at just a little Compton number. They're not considering the 32 kids that are coming in from out of district. Moreover, they're losing. I mean, are those kids that go to Portsmouth counted in their number?
Probably not,
Those kids.
not for state aid purposes,
Okay.
but they may be included in there for their per pupil numbers.
I'm gonna have to look at that. Maybe they are. Interesting.
State aid obviously is not a big number.
Yeah.
Right, but just so I understand it, currently, the state aid is based on population per town, what have you, for the school,
So based on enrollment.
right? But if we're taking tuition students in and they, as you use that example for Tiverton, we're not getting credit for that as far as our state aid is concerned?
No, state aid follows the child. So the child in this point is a citizen. So you don't have a school choice in the state. You can, if they want to attend the CTE program at another district, they can do that as long as that district doesn't provide those services. So for example, we have 4 or 4.5 going to Newport Career and Tech. Had we had a CTE program, and we don't even have a high school, but we had a CTE program, most of the time those kids probably would not be going out, but that's not the case all the time. I mean, in Lincoln, I've probably got 13 or 14 kids coming into Lincoln, but I have probably 9 kids going out to various other communities. So,
So this, just so I'm clear, the state aid follows the child, even though,
the state aid, yeah, the aid that the district gets follows the child. So,
Not their residence, their school.
Right.
Okay. Or school, not the, okay.
so where's our extra state aid from the kids that are coming in?
you don't get state aid for the kids coming in.
So it's not counted in the number?
No.
We're getting tuition, obviously, revenue. So what happens is if we had a child that was going out of district, for example, let's say the kids are going to Newport Career and Tech, they're included in the state aid determination. So we're getting the revenue, but we're paying the tuition payments for that.
Correct.
In our case, we might be getting maybe $1,000 per student, but it's costing us $15,500 to have that kid go out of district. So it's a net loss to us.
Yes, yes.
In some districts, like if you go to Woonsocket or a Pawtucket, they may be getting 18,000 in state aid per pupil. So the tuition that they're paying,
It's a plus, you know.
it may be a wash in that particular case. But that state aid determination is based on, the property values in the community and everything else.
So even if our tuition program, let's say, brought in 100 kids, let's just use a wild number like that, it wouldn't help our state aid. If we had 100 more kids come in from out of district.
No, but our state aid is not that,
It's
as a
small.
percentage of our total revenue is not as significant.
There is no, if I may, Chair,
Yeah.
unlike Massachusetts, that has school choice. Westport opted in recently, and they saw an influx of students coming from neighboring districts. There is no school choice in the state of Rhode Island except for the high school level for CTE programs. And only if your home
District doesn't
district
offer.
does not offer that particular pathway, design or CNA or pre-engineering and all of that. If this state flipped the switch for school choice, you'd have about 300 students in this building
Easily.
easily. And it's a bit behind in that regard. I don't understand it. It's not like some of us don't
Sometimes they don't.
discuss it and want to push for it.
Like the King's Town.
That's
Interesting.
until that happens. It may happen. Numbers.
Thanks for your due diligence, Auditor General. Boy,
We're gonna take our ride.
we're gonna put them on our Christmas card list. We got to take care of these folks. Apparently, math is hard over there. Anything else to add? You good? Yep. Oh, I wasn't sure.
let me just, add one,
Go ahead,
you spoke about MLL as far as the tuition year 2. Is that the same rate that we're paying now, or is that a different rate for us?
It's in the contract. I
Yes.
think is it the same rate?
You mean the
the tuition for the
Well,
mental health students.
You mean here or,
Actually, it's figured based on
They
the number of
invoice.
students.
yeah, they invoice us extra for that?
So he's gonna invoice, he sent me it today, so he's gonna invoice us twice a year, so we'll get an invoice in December.
Yeah.
And then get one in June.
If they invoice us separately, that is in contract.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. McNamara. Appreciate it.
Sorry, just one of my notes. Where are we with the Warren Solar project? Are we getting anything back from that? I think that was online, right? Are we getting,
Yeah, we did get it last month. I haven't got the electric bills for this month to see what was provided, but last month we had a close to a $7,000 credit on.
Yeah. Lead with that.
I don't know whether that was a cumulative amount since they were delayed.
Yeah, is there any?
Does that include more than 1 month or so? So hopefully I should have the bills any day. So I've got a feel for that. I asked Tony Texera to see if he could get some information from them as to what these credits, because the town got credits as well too. But we haven't heard back on how that was.
So you're not sure if that's the 1 month or if that's like a accumulation of.
Yeah, it seemed high based on the contract because we're getting a 35% discount off the cost of the energy.
7,000 a month.
So that seems to be high for 1 month. So
and that was just whatever it may be, whether it's accumulated or not, that is just for the school only. That doesn't include what the town.
they allocated to so we have a small account for Meeting House Lane lights, and then we have the main account for the school. And we actually had a small amount on Meeting House, and then we had one on. So they do it by account.
Okay, so that's just for
Meter.
our accounts for this building and the streetlights.
It's good. Good to know. Good question, Michael. Glad that program is finally up and running, Michael.
Took a while.
Excellent. All right, we'll move on to the subcommittee reports. The policy subcommittee members are absent this evening. Move on to item 9.2. I am the Portsmouth School Committee Liaison Report. All right, so school is underway at Portsmouth. There are new Portsmouth High School liaisons reporting to the school committee each month. Elena Dooley, Lulu Woods, Burke Santucci, and Elena Sun. They vary from being secretary of their class, vice president, president, and class representatives. All the advisors and student liaisons have been assigned for the 2024-2025 school year at Portsmouth High School. There are 65 clubs that will be represented. Some of these clubs, just to highlight, are chess, pickleball, Model UN, ski club. And on 10/4, they had their club fair, in which they basically did a morning session where all the kids get to kind of see what's offered to them. So as Principal McKinnon always echoes to our 8th grade graduating class, get involved, whether it's athletics, whether it's in music, drama, robotics. There is a litany of things for our high school students to participate in. There was a new storage shed donated by Cape Granite Association for the drama club. So they have more the ability to have costumes and set design stored on site. This is the first year since COVID that the seniors were able to paint their parking spots. They were all very excited about that. They're doing Patriot Block, which means every class, they have all their subjects every single day. And, you know, I got to hand it to the young ladies that presented. They were very honest. So like, you know, I didn't really like it at first, but I do feel like I'm doing better in classes that I didn't look forward to. So I think kids are coming around to it. But yeah, there's always that class that you're like dreading to go to. But, you know, as one of them shared, she said, well, now I'm kind of like forced to really buckle down and dig into it. So I feel like I'm getting more comfortable at it. Miss Noble was their teacher of the year. They didn't really elaborate too much on that, but she was recognized with Mr. Lee Torres at the event for Water Fire on September 21st. They have a new mascot. They affectionately called the old mascot Nightmare Pat. I guess he was a little archaic, a little cartoony, and the new one is less cartoony and has more of a revolutionary look. They're very excited about it, and it's a mascot uniform that actually fits. The digital trophy case that was donated by the class of 2024 and spearheaded by Superintendent Kenworthy. That'll be launched in the coming weeks. They, like us, have a green project. They're constantly reiterating to their students about recycling and composting. That's been rolled out. One thing I thought was really cool, they have something called Rachel's Closet. So Portsmouth, like little Compton, has the mindset that, as we learned when they're doing state aid, they take into account the number of students and then also home prices. But there are families and individuals in these communities that do live paycheck to paycheck, are on fixed incomes, do take advantage of food banks. And Rachel's Closet is a space for students to, whether they need clothes, shoes, outfits, hygiene goods, notebooks, school supplies, backpacks that students can go to. And what's really great is they've met with, teachers nominated students that they thought would be interested. And they said, we had a lot of conversations and discussions with kids we might not have spoken with, and to really get their feedback. So it seems to me like Rachel's Closet is really bringing students together and bridging the gap in terms of socioeconomic and making sure everybody is on the same page of like, we all lift each other up, a rising tide lifts all ships. I thought that was really great. The blood drive, they do several blood drives throughout the course of the year. They did their first, and they will be continuing to do those. Their homecoming is this Saturday, 10/12. There'll be a homecoming parade. And then to speak to the CTE, there are approximately 273 students at Portsmouth High School participating in the CTE, which is the Career and Technical Educational Programs, which is about a third of their students. And this was something when I first came on to this school committee and was the Portsmouth liaison, it was really just getting started. It was post-COVID. They didn't really know what direction it was going to go in, but they seem to be very pleased with these numbers and growth. So I'm excited that our students will have the option of pursuing career and technical education along with general education to set themselves up, whatever they want to pursue when they graduate from high school. So great things happening at Portsmouth High School. That concludes my report. 9-3. Oh, go ahead, please.
And you may not know this answer.
I'll try.
Do our eighth graders get to shadow ninth graders at PHS?
No. They do have someone from PHS who comes and speaks to our students. Probably sometime in January, February, as they get ready to make the determination what class they're going to take. But there's no shadowing day of that.
What would we have to do that? To get them to be able to shadow, to get these kids more familiar, so when they do go from here to the high school, that they're not just showing up at orientation, and that they get to see the interaction of going
Correct.
on.
And moreover, to Michael's point, maybe they want to go in a different direction and pursue career and technical education in Newport or another district. So, we have a smaller cohort here, typically under 30 kids. Maybe that's something we can do. I didn't ask Michael. They said that all the advisors and student liaisons have been assigned to the 2024-2025 school year. I don't know if that overlaps with what Michael's talking about in terms of, do our kids that are over there now have somebody that they can kind of go to, whether it's a teacher, administrator, and or another student. But it would be great if we could have, almost like
We can look into it. I know in the past, at working at a high school, we did have shadow days, but it would be just on an individual basis. It would not be a large group of kids, going over there. I think in the past, and I may not have been here, but I think they did have nights where they invite the Little Compton and the Portsmouth kids in, and they do kind of an orientation.
I think you're right. In the spring, they definitely do that.
They still do that.
Yeah, they do that.
Mary Elizabeth and Cara
Over there.
over there.
Correct.
They push out all the messaging, they coordinate all of that. Also, NACTech comes on site and also presents. I think, Mike, that was a good question. Many schools did away for safety reasons with that sort of shadowing, having kids in there individually or even en masse, looking at the different different, well, I don't say shops anymore, but the different pathways. And I know in Massachusetts, some of the schools did away with those opportunities to shadow. I know private schools still allow it. I know.
Yeah, almost like a recruiting trip. You
Right.
kind of get the lay of the land, you know, and it doesn't have to be an all-day thing, but.
They've sort of fallen by the wayside for safety and security.
Interesting. I'll follow up, Michael. I'll see
Yeah,
if there's, I mean, I know that they can do as well, but it wouldn't hurt for the parent in the crowd to kind of ask a question. I can certainly do so. Item 9.3, Wellness Committee Liaison Report. Ms. Duquesne is absent tonight. Laura, do you have anything to add to the Wellness Committee meet? I believe they did in end of September.
We met 2 weeks ago. All right. 26. We met the 26th. It was the same, just a family dinner where we had a lot of people. And we had a full complement of Wellness Committee members. Susan Canane ran it. We had a couple of people come in by Zoom from Chartwell's, Compass USA, which is our food service provider. And on the 23rd, we have 5 members of our wellness committee going to the Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition breakfast. And those 5 members, one of them is here, Lori Dowdy, and also Mary Elizabeth Miller, our clinician, Jason Ford, our head teacher, Noel Kiernan, our PE and health, and Lori Dowdy. So we we bought a table for, we went in halves with Jamestown, because we're small, and no one wants a table of 10, so we got a table of 10 divided by 2 of the smaller rural districts with no high schools. So it's one of the few times that we get to team up. And so, yeah, we have a full and I think you were asked to confirm. I think Carolyn said sent that out and everyone confirmed. So all 5 of those will be representing our district. And what else? Corinne was down here. Oh, great. We're forming a subcommittee. They asked me to chair it. They voluntold me to, so I guess I will, for the new Farm and Sea school grant. Let's see. Chartwell's is going to be offering more food choices and food-related activities, health food-related activities. We talked about the family dinner and how it was, super successful. We had record numbers of families and kiddos, even though it was raining. I didn't put a damper on things. We went to the hand washing and drying stations in the cafeteria from the grant, the Get the Foam Out grant. And so the kids will have nice clean hands before and after lunch, especially after going to all of the, the food diversion centers and recycling areas. And they have about 4 or 5 different bins they have to throw all of their refuse in. We talked about 1 COVID vaccine clinics coming up. We talked about the Yale University emotional intelligence training that the district sent Jack to, and Mary Elizabeth, and also the head of HR, Carolyn Sedgwick, and it was transformative for them. They came back with, really fired up with a lot of really good ideas. We talked about the Educated Peer Support Program, the only school in the nation with one, designed, bespoke. If you last year it was mandatory, and this year it is voluntary, and there are 20 plus teachers out of 35 who are giving up their discretionary time during the school day to participate in the Educated Peer Support Program, where admin is out and the clinician and guidance counselor were trained by professionals from the Wharton School at Penn, and it has been so successful beyond our wildest dreams. Our teachers need time to connect during the school day with each other and share. in a format that is facilitated by, science-based format, that is facilitated by people trained to do so. And it has been, I don't know what goes on in there, but they love it. And it makes for happy staff. We also have a lot of staff working out together. One of our teachers here, Jen Segal, is a certified fitness instructor. And all of that sort of came out of the educator peer support meetings. And we also talked about the workplace wellness committee that HR runs, Carolyn Sedgwick, and she has a lot of members there. And many of them also attend the workouts, let's see, and the coalition breakfast. So it is a very active committee, and there's always a lot of activity and a lot of buzz. Sue does a great job.
Thank you for filling in. All right, item 9.4, Michael, the Town Recreation Committee Liaison Report.
We just roll that into 10.1.
Yeah, we absolutely can.
Just do that all at once.
Excellent. Action items, 10.1 is to consider, discuss, and vote to approve the donation of old gymnasium speakers to the Little Compton Recreation Committee. Just discussion away. Jonathan, I know that you're the one, we had them in the gym and.
Oh, that's the equipment that came down from before we did the AV upgrades. Not terribly much to say about them. They are perfectly good PA speakers. They're actually designed to be outdoor units. Not quite the right equipment for the space, which was originally some of the source of our audio problems. So replacing those made a huge deal in terms of quality of the sound system. But we hold on to the good equipment and try to find uses for it. So when the recreation committee said that it's a good use to put them out, don't remember its field, but I think what the name for the little hub.
It's a concession stand it's a little, but yeah, the Little League concession stand.
Just for that purpose, and we don't currently have much need of them, so we might as well see them used for something good.
I love it. People helping people. Michael, in terms of the speakers, will they be stored inside and then brought outside during events?
No, so the idea is that the speakers are being mounted on the outside of the building. Working with Jonathan is to put internet access out there so that we could have dual speakers. So it'd be two speakers facing the baseball field, two speakers facing the parking lot, which we would work on A/B switch. So if you were to do, a baseball game was going on, the speakers are only pointing towards the field. If it's going towards if there's an event going on in the parking lot, it would only be those speakers that are going on. There is the cellular service over there and the Wi-Fi over in that area is minimal. So it's a way to us to be able to do that. So if you're having an event and you need internet,
yes,
Jonathan's got a way to get us internet from point A to point B. And as far as Jonathan was able to get us some pricing, it was approximately about $2,400 for this. And we've arranged so that the town will pay half and the Little League will pay half on that. So, and I know you were checking on the Amazon through the town. I don't know if you got to do that or not. So we approved the expenditure of about $2,400 based on that we could get the speakers that would be coming from the school to repurpose them. There'd be a microphone system, so there's a PA system that's out there. So if you're out there and you have field day and you want to have a sound system out on the baseball field, you have access to that. It was the thought behind it was that the cost would be split so that Little League could use it, but as well as town functions could use it. And that's what we were trying to go after.
Perfect.
So you'll have a sound system, you'll be able to play music through it, and the internet. That's what we're working on. So.
And I mean, I know you said they're outdoor. He said they'll be mounted. You're not worried about weather conditions or anything. Beautiful. Listen.
Exact purpose.
Fantastic.
And part of the reason that they kind of have a little weird in an indoor space, they designed to throw sound over very long distances, and the gym is not that long.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Well, Michael, thank you for spearheading this. I think this is a great fit in terms of having equipment that filled the void in the,
They are actually still current model speakers that are produced to this day. We've had them up there for a while, but when you have a good product, typically companies don't change. The technology around stuff like that hasn't changed much. So I want to say they're somewhere in the range of $1,500 a piece.
okay.
So like I said, we would never get rid of them. They're still very valuable.
Yeah, no, that, I'm glad you kept them, but more importantly, I'm glad that they can be repurposed and functionally used for not only the Little League, but also the community as a whole. I mean, this is going to be a great, I can think of several events that are held in that parking lot throughout the course of the year. I mean, coming up, we have the trunk or treat. But yeah, that's just one off the top of my head that you pump music out there, you can have announcements, you know, car shows, touch a truck, all these things. So really great. And of course, the Little League, it's just great to have speakers to hear the kids have their name announced over the loudspeaker as they come to at bat. That's always a cool thing. Mark, do you have any questions about this? I mean, I think you do some recreation.
No questions at this time.
Questions. Do I have a motion to approve the donation of the old gymnasium speakers to the Little League or Little Compton Recreation Committee?
I'll make a motion.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jennifer will vote via roll call.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Fleischer,
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Excellent. The motion carries 3-0. Awesome work. I'm glad the Recreation Committee could use the products that we had sitting here unused. All right, item 10.2, are there any member requests for information or administration? I do want to make a comment because I know Michael and I have been talking about the enrollment and tuition and that kind of things. I want to wait until at least after the election cycle and possibly into the new year. I don't anticipate that we would be making any tuition increases on this year's enrollments. But certainly a conversation to be had as we continue to move on. More importantly, I knew that Sue wasn't going to be here tonight, and I did want her to be here when we first brought this to light. So we will keep it in future, but it is coming down the pipe. I didn't want Michael to think that we're kicking the can. We're really not. I just want to be more thorough with this.
Yeah, because that's what it's right here is tuition rate. I got it circled.
Look, you're reading my mind. Are there any other requests for information from administration or legal counsel?
No.
If not, I will consider a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
All right, Mark, I'll let you finish.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming out. Excellent work. Jonathan, thank you for keeping us